And it is the Saturday Coffee Klatch with Heather Lofthouse and yours truly, Robert Reich. And Heather, what is our content today?
No, you didn't. It is the Conclave, the big con, the Constitution.
Well, those cons really, that content really sounds...
The constant barrage.
It is a constant barrage.
I know.
I mean, it is so easy to forget how much of a barrage this is. I mean, a lot of people I know are not even, don't even want to read the newspapers or see the news because it's just so constant and people are frantic.
Draining.
And it's understandable. And later on this program, we're going to actually have a conversation with somebody who will give you even more courage to take up.
It's good.
To take on the powers, the fascist powers that be.
Right. Or just the elected officials in front of you.
Elected officials who, unfortunately, many of them are neo-fascist.
Okay, so can we please start with the new Pope, Pope Leo the 14th?
Well, he's American. He's from Chicago, the city of big shoulders, the city of immigrants, the city of Irish and Italian immigrant. I mean, it's interesting. Yeah. He is going to be... We don't know exactly, but it looks like he's going to be very much in the pattern or the footsteps of Pope Francis. Yeah. Do you think so?
I think so, but it was interesting to see the Vatican's phrasing, which was the second Pope from the Americas.
Yes, not the Gulf of America, not the Gulf of the United States.
Not the U.S. Let's downplay that. But also, he did spend, 2 decades in Peru? I mean, he really is a global leader, and he was last a cardinal.
And did you notice that when he spoke to the throngs in St. Peter's Square, he spoke in Italian, and it was impeccable Italian.
Was it? I mean, I assumed it was, but I didn't know. Yeah, so it was impeccable?
I know it because I have Italian friends who told me it was impeccable.
Right. I know, and I think that was appreciated, and he's, I think he is, so he's Augustinian, right?
And what does that mean?
Well, so he was saying, and the understanding is they pay a lot of attention to the poor, and, it's a specific, there's so many different parts of Catholicism and different, saints that people are following. But so he in particular cares a lot about the poor and migrants, which, like you say, was similar to Pope Francis.
Well, is he going, I mean, he's described as a quote unquote moderate. Mm-hmm. Now, I know what that means in the United States. Right. I think there used to be moderates.
In the papacy.
But what does it mean in the papacy?
I don't know as much, but I'll take it. I mean, I think what we know is that there have been some Twitter accounts that he is allegedly affiliated with, could be his Twitter account, and he came out and spoke against one thing that J.D. Vance had said.
He's my man, not J.D. Vance.
The Pope?
Yeah, the Pope.
And Leo. So that was interesting, right? So do you remember what he said, or do you want me to
Well, I think he was actually posting something else, but J.D. Vance had said, Americans should be most loyal to their families, and then secondarily to their communities, and thirdly to their nation, and then people who are not from our nation really come way below. And the what he posted, what Pope Leo posted, was something about Catholics and Christians and the teaching of Jesus is not hierarchical like that. All people are equal. All people deserve equal respect.
Right, and there's no ranking.
And J.D. Vance is wrong.
I know. Spicy. So we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like, Catholicism is huge in this world. We have 8 billion people and 1.4 billion Catholics, 18%, whatever that is.
Yes, and in 1928, as you will remember, Al Smith, Catholic, ran for president. Did not make it, but and he was the first Catholic to run for president. But it just shows that Catholicism is a really, even though religion is not nearly what it was, is a huge force in the world, in the United States, in politics.
And also just watching it, and even my friends saying, "Ooh, is there white smoke yet?" I mean, it's interesting that people are kind of paying attention. Also, Conclave, the film, helped
Yes.
us all get ready for
Do you
this.
remember? I thought it was a great film.
Oh, I thought it was fantastic. I saw it on a plane, and I just couldn't stop watching it on my tiny little screen.
Did you? Well, I thought that Rafe Fiennes was particularly.
Me too. Is it Fiennes or Fiends?
I thought it was Fiennes.
I don't know.
It's
It's Fiennes. You can say that.
It's Fiennes. But but I thought he was great.
And Stanley Tucci.
Stanley Tucci was fabulous. But how they actually decided on this new pope. But do you remember the two popes? It was a movie
Yes.
years ago, which was also fabulous.
I didn't see that one. Who was that? Anthony Hopkins? Sir Anthony? Sir Anthony.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So that's going to be, more will be revealed about where he stands on things. And so we'll be looking at that. I'm just glad to not have to see Donald Trump in the vestments anymore.
Well, I was worried when I
That
found
AI
out
image.
that it was a United States pope. I was a little nervous because there's been so much effort to satisfy Trump, by corporations and by everybody else. And I thought, could the Vatican be trying to make a kind of surrender in advance move to Trump? But obviously that's not the case.
Right. Well, so I thought oh my gosh, I can't believe it's an American. Wow. And then I heard about the J.D. Vance thing. And then I thought, interesting, is this more like an Australia or a Canada where these moves are happening against or in spite of Trump? So
it's an interesting question because what we see around the world, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past, is that you have the Trump effect, which is everybody who is against Trump is starting to align together. There's more and more of an anti-Trump coalition. In the United States, obviously, bringing people together who had never been brought together before. Around the world, Canada working with Europe against the Trump United States. And maybe the Vatican is part of that as well.
I don't know. Or they just picked the person they thought would be the best pope.
Well, but you cannot take Trump out of
Pope
the equation.
Out of Rome? I know. Okay, so speaking of Trump, the corruption that is happening in front of our very eyes is so obscene and unbelievable. So, and what I'm thinking of is this crypto dinner and the money we watch going into the crypto markets and being lost, by the way.
It's amazing. And it's amazing that there is not more outrage. I mean, I say this
Or
all the
arrests
time.
or
Every week
something.
we talk about why isn't there more outrage? But why aren't the Democrats or even a single Republican standing up and saying, you're having a dinner in the White House and a tour for the highest investors in your own personal crypto coin.
Right. So the top 220 investors in Trump's meme coin are invited to this fancy dinner, and then they're even a smaller subset is invited to a private tour.
And it has put, and this is all. Remember,
Here we go.
this is not Bill Clinton and the Lincoln bedroom, which was rented out to make money for the Republican, to the Democratic Party.
The DNC, which was problematic and a big issue
Yes,
back then.
but no, this is money into Trump's pocket and his family's
yes.
pocket. I mean, this is.
And it's a lot of money. I mean, since they announced this and since it's all been going, it's billions of dollars they are up.
And the meme coin. What is a meme coin? What is a Trump?
I mean, how much time do you have?
Meme coin.
So, well, there are a couple things, because then there's also the stable coin, which is slightly different, and that's the USD1. So this is his Trump coin. And so there are these markets, and people are buying, the meme coins.
But
and people know when to buy and know when to sell. That's the problem. Certain people are getting rich, and a lot of people are getting poorer.
Well, Trump is obviously getting rich. But when, for example, Elon Musk said that Social Security was a Ponzi scheme. Mm-hmm. Now, we know that's bullshit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no, but Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system.
Right.
A Ponzi scheme is when you get into it expecting that the value of something will get higher because other people will be lured into it, and then you can get out. Isn't that what a meme coin is? And
Right.
isn't that what Trump is?
The crypto markets.
This is the real Ponzi scheme in the White House. I mean,
it's
the
going to have a
Ponzi.
lot of losers, and the losers are going to be the less connected people and
Less
the less
connected.
rich. I know.
I mean, this is an example. This is sort of small version of what's happening in the economy and society as a whole, right? I mean, the wealthy get the inside information. They know exactly when to buy and when to sell,
Yeah.
and everybody else is sort of holding the bag, the losers in the Ponzi scheme. But in this one, it is Trump. Trump is making the money and his family.
And you can't do that. I thought this was illegal.
Well, the major investors in this meme coin are foreigners or international. And there is something called the emoluments clause in the Constitution.
You've referenced it before.
Yeah, well,
Please do so again.
Listen, this is, you see this?
This is his pocket
This
constitution,
is my pocket
folks.
Constitution.
Thank you for bringing it.
Do you have yours?
God, wrong jeans. They were in my from yesterday. They were in yesterday's jeans.
Everybody should have their own pocket constitution. This is important.
That's why I coffee with you, because I know you have yours.
Well, here it is. This is Article 1, Section 9, and it says here, no person holding any office shall accept any present, emolument, of anything of value from a foreign state. Well, hello, it doesn't say meme coin, but it practically does. I mean, Trump is violating the Constitution of the United States.
Well, this is one of our other topics for today.
The Constitution.
Yeah,
His
and Trump
violation.
and the Constitution. Does he care about the Constitution?
Do
we stand?
He said last Sunday that he doesn't know whether he took an oath of office to the Constitution.
Will you uphold it? She asked. The reporter asked.
How can you not know? You took an oath. Now in Trump's case, he took an oath in 2016, start of 2017. He took an oath the start of this year. He's administered the oath. There is something called an oath of office where you pledge to uphold the Constitution. I took it. I administered it to all the assistant secretaries in the Labor Department. It's a very solemn, important occasion.
I bet.
And this is an important and solemn document. It's not even hard to read. Even somebody who is not terribly adept at reading could read this little document.
I know.
Even if he's president, you could read this document.
But he's being slippery. He's saying, I have lawyers. They, of course, they're going to do. I mean, of course, but no. But yes, but I don't know. But I mean, maybe, but no. And it's lawyers. It's not me. There's
a company called International Freight that is going to buy, publicly they've said they're going to buy up to $20 million of this Trump meme coin. And then they were asked why. And they said, in fact, I wrote it down somewhere. They said it's to help us be more effective in getting access to the people we want to get access to.
We're saying the quiet part out loud.
I mean,
it's the quid in the pro and the quo we're still working on.
I mean, absolutely. This is the president of the United States selling something to make money.
I know.
That is a Ponzi scheme, and international businesses are buying it. It doesn't. It's in violation of the Constitution.
So this would benefit him privately, but also his family, right? But then there are other examples we're seeing now of different kinds of corruption, where, for example, Elon Musk and Starlink, right? There was this whole thing that happened in Lesotho, who is in a huge trade conversation with Trump. Have you been to Lesotho? I've been to Lesotho.
Have you?
Yeah. So it's landlocked by South Africa. It's a gorgeous mountain kingdom. It's stunning. But there's a lot of manufacturing and putting together of things there, right?
When were you in Lesotho?
When I worked in global health. And so it was a health trip looking at social franchising for healthcare provision. Anywho. So in Lesotho, they're saying, maybe we'll commit to having Starlink come here. We'll sign that.
This is we're talking
Elon
about
Musk company.
Elon Musk's Starlink satellite company.
Right.
He's got he has a monopoly. He's got 7,000 satellites circling. I mean, nobody else comes close.
I know.
And he keeps on getting permission for putting up more and more of them.
But so making these moves around Elon Musk to try and help the trade negotiation.
So the State Department is saying to other nations, you use Starlink.
Yeah. No, it's come out that week. Yeah, this week it has come out.
Is that a quid pro quo? Is that corruption?
I think it's shady,
It's
if
not-
nothing else.
It's not just shady. I mean, this is absurd.
I know, Bob.
This is absurd. These people, the richest human being in the world, it gets the State Department to say to another country, you can only use his satellites. I mean, what kind of, this is beyond corruption. This is really kind of we have a police state, and we have a kind of a venal kind of self-dealing.
Also, I mean, it just makes me think of ethics. Remember ethics? Even watching Conclave. I mean, I don't know. It was a film, right? Fiction.
Yeah.
But there was a sense of kind of order and formality and ethics.
And ethics is about what you owe to somebody. I mean,
right.
the public.
God, the public, right. But this is just mayhem. And it feels like it's all about the hustle and the con.
Well, there are only two things that Trump and Musk are interested in. Number one is power. Number two is money. And they go together. If you have more power, you can get more money. If you got more money, you can get more power. And they know it. And this links the two of them. Even though Musk is supposedly on his way out, he's not on his way out. He's going to stay and have influence with Trump. He's going to be there one day a week at least. Mm-hmm. And Trump's corruption is, Heather, I believe it's going to catch up with him. I don't think the American public, even Trumpers, want this degree of self-dealing in the White House.
But so as Trump is saying, I don't know if I am going to follow the Constitution.
We don't know if I have an obligation.
You're right. At the same time, and then there are all these questions about due process. And this is all related because basically the Supreme Court has said to the administration, you have to facilitate Kilmar Abrego Garcia's return from El Salvador. Where do these cases stand now? What's happening?
Well, as far as I know, the administration has not facilitated. Remember, the Supreme Court said it said, quote, facilitate his return. The administration,
9-0.
There's nothing. I mean, The administration has done absolutely nothing. So then what? The Supreme Court has turned it over to the district court, the original district court, for a hearing. The district court and the judge of the district court is now trying to figure out what to do. Where is he and what is his state and how do you bring him back and what are the obligations? I think it'll be interesting if and when it goes back to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court has to clarify what you as president must do. And he then Trump says, I'm sorry, no, then we're in. What you keep asking me, are we in a constitutional crisis?
Oh, I know.
Then we are in a constitutional crisis.
But I want to be psychic and just go forward and then come back, travel to the future. I mean, are we going to look back and say, okay, we knew he would, but he dragged his feet and he tried not to, and it was a power-hungry move? Or are we going to look back and say, we knew he was never going to do this?
Well, I think historians will look back and say he was going to defy the Supreme Court from the get-go. I mean, his selection of J.D. Vance clearly indicated where he was going because J.D. Vance, on the record, has said he would advise Trump to do what Andrew Jackson putatively did, which is say to John Marshall, who was then the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, you've made your decision, now try to enforce it.
Right.
I'm not even sure historically that Andrew Jackson did that. But that's J.D. Vance's view. And Trump seems to be surrounded by people like J.D. Vance who say you don't have any obligation to follow the Supreme Court.
Right, or ignore Congress, or run a third time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all these...
Well, it's hard to tell how much he's trying to be provocative, Trump, when he's saying, I might run a third time. But some of this some of it's just distraction. Some of it's just lunacy. Some of it, though, is very important right now, and it's serious. And one is defying the Supreme Court, and the second is defying Congress. Those are the two branches of government. Talk about the Constitution. Hello?
Yeah.
This is all about checks and balances that we all learned in high school. This is all about you have Congress and you have the courts and you have the president, and the founders were mostly concerned about limiting the powers of the president. That's what it was all about.
I know it. So in terms of due process, you saw that, I almost said Steve Bannon, Stephen Miller came out this week.
He might as well have said
I
Steve
know,
Bannon.
was redefining due process, and there was a lot of conversation this week about what does it mean. You have a law degree. I love when I get to torture you with this.
Yeah, thanks.
So I thought that every person had a right to due process. Habeas corpus, haven't we been talking about that for centuries?
Yes, we have. We have not, but
you
yes.
have.
For
Some of your
several
friends.
centuries. I started talking about it in 1688.
Yeah.
But there is something called due process, which means essentially it's got to be a fair hearing or a fair process to determine whether allegations made against somebody are true. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have the same process.
Right.
Trump keeps saying, well, we have all these thousands of people who are here
Millions.
illegally.
What are we going to have, 1 million court cases?
We can't have all these trials.
Right.
Well, it doesn't mean you have to have a full trial. It does mean you have to have a process that is independent of the accusers. And it could be a very informal process, but it's got to be independent of the accusers. That's what due process means. And the Supreme Court has said this repeatedly. I think that if it gets up to the Supreme Court, this issue, they're bound by precedent. I mean, they are. I should never say this Supreme Court is bound by precedent, but this is pretty clear.
Oh, and we saw that yesterday that Justice Souter passed away.
Yes.
Did you meet him?
I don't remember whether I met him. He's a good example, Heather, of the era when justices were appointed. He was appointed by George H.W. Bush.
Yes.
And you couldn't predict exactly where they'd go as justices ideologically, even though they were appointed by a conservative Republican president or a Democrat. I remember John F. Kennedy appointed Byron White, who became a very conservative justice. But we don't.
Blackman was another one.
And Harry Blackman, appointed by Ronald Reagan, was it?
Nixon.
I'm sorry, of course. You know these things.
I just know it because of you.
Yeah. And Harry Blackman became much more liberal. But it doesn't happen anymore.
But that's because we're ideologically obsessed. I mean, someone has to kind of come in and salute and then not use their independent logic reasoning brain. They have to do what they're told to do.
Well, that's partly true. But it's also because the selection process now is so much more thorough about, you have a whole Federalist society that spends years going through everybody, just making sure that the people that they are recommending to a Republican president are as conservative, as right-wing as you can possibly get. But even among Trump's appointees, Amy Coney Barrett could actually and shows some signs of being a little bit flexible on some of these issues.
I know. Getting in trouble. So what have we not covered yet? Okay, so habeas corpus, we talked about this. And what's interesting is the original act has to do with monarchy and kings. I mean, again, back to this point.
Well, you had, in the 16th century, you did have a writ. If you were arrested and you were put in the Tower of London or wherever you were put, you had the power. It wasn't much power,
right? But
you had the legal right to at least demand what you're being arrested for.
Right, a lawful
experience
what did you do? Happening.
What did you do?
Right.
And in this country, we're even losing that. I mean, the student in Somerville, Massachusetts, who was abducted, and we have that tape. She was not. She didn't know what she did. It turned out that what she had done was write something in the student newspaper that the administration, the Trump regime, has found objectionable, and so her student visa was taken away. Well, this is so contrary to the notion of the rule of law
Right.
And this is what we're talking about. This
And
whole,
these are people with visas, et cetera, right?
Yeah,
So they're trying
yeah.
to
But
split
let me
hairs
go
here.
back. I don't want to. I don't.
Oh, here we go.
This is the rule of law.
No, I know.
This is the rule of law. Hello. This is what this is what distinguishes this country from a tin pot dictatorship. I mean,
and so this wrote this down. So the Habeas Corpus Act of 1679 codified the process of issuing the writ and established the principle that even the king's command couldn't prevent a person from using the writ. Even the king's command.
So unfortunately, Thomas Cromwell, he was too early to use the habeas corpus. But after that, you could. And
but how are we back to this place, Bob, where we're talking about monarchs and tyrants and authoritarian
and Trump is planning this military parade on his birthday on June 14th. I mean, this is a good day to demonstrate. There are demonstrations. All of you, remember, June 14th, we're going to be out there demonstrating against kings. This is not a land of kings. We are against kings. This is what we have known, presumably, for our entire history.
Right. Now, Congress is in charge of the power of the purse, right? Where's your...
Yes. This is Article 1.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is... Shall I read it to you?
Yes, please.
Well, no, I won't read it to you.
Okay, no need. So...
This is wonderful reading.
So Trump, you're right.
Seriously.
So Trump went and has now gone rogue and is negotiating trade deals with the UK all week. Yeah. On his own. I mean, it feels like he's just doing his own thing unilaterally.
Tariffs are also supposed to be under Congress's power.
Right.
Now we have a bunch of Republicans who run Congress who don't care, who are just intimidated by Trump. But he is usurping the power of Congress on trade as well as everything else.
Right. And so what's going to happen with the UK? We don't know it hasn't been revealed, right?
No, we don't know the details yet. But, to have a trade deal with the UK means that, what does that mean? It means tariffs may be down a little bit. I mean, he's already talked about changing the tariff with China from 145% down to 80%.
Right.
I mean, he's doing all these things by himself without any analysis. It makes no sense.
Don't we still have 10% across the board also?
It's 10% across the board for everybody.
We're not even talking about that, which the implications for people are extreme.
Well, the implications certainly, I mean, American consumers are going to pay more. That 10% across the board is a tax. Hello, it's a tax. He keeps saying, we're making so much money. Well, who's the we?
I know.
Kimosabe. I mean, the United States Treasury may be making a little bit of money, but we as taxpayers, as consumers are actually paying the tax.
I know. And as you see him in these press conferences and in these interviews, and people say, so the ports are empty. Oh, good. Yeah, no, that's good.
He says,
great.
Well, so, little girls are going to have a few dolls instead of 30, and everybody else is going to have maybe just a few pencils instead of 100. I mean, what?
But it's even more than that. It's like, first of all, I have a problem with the little girls having to take on the pressure of the entire consumer market crushing, by the way. It doesn't have to be the beautiful little girls and their dolls. But I mean, he is so out of touch. And this is a great opportunity to ask you, because part of the rationale that is irrational, let's be clear, is we're bringing back manufacturing. So the fact that we used to have tons of dolls coming from China, we can build them here. They'll be better dolls. Everyone is going to be better off. Dun, 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 dun. Like that's the. But what does manufacturing of dolls actually look like?
Pencils, or anything else. Or he wants to bring back coal mining. He says, I'm going to bring back coal mining.
But
the man has no sense of the history of labor in this country. I mean, coal mining jobs were horrible jobs. They were, black lung disease. If you had to get up in the morning and go into the pits, or manufacturing jobs were boring, and they were sometimes dangerous.
It's drudgery. I Googled how to make dolls. So like Barbies, for example, and you put all the plastic goes into all these little molds, and the machines, by the way, aren't built in America that you need on average to make these. And then humans have to go in and pluck them out.
Pluck out what?
The little Barbie legs.
You pluck the Barbie legs out
Yeah,
of
and then
Barbie?
you've got to get nylon, by the way, also not from America, to apply for the hair. I mean, when you actually make dolls.
What do you do? Do you have to put it all together?
Yeah,
These little...
that's it. I mean, really, truly, it's drudgery. It's not, and to your point about the safety, I mean, we have this president saying government regulation, tooey, unions, yich. So these manufacturing jobs are drudgery
and
that aren't
unsafe.
paid well.
Unsafe.
Right.
He's getting rid of all of the OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration. He's getting rid of all of these regulations, and he's getting rid of unions. He doesn't like unions. The only reason that manufacturing jobs in America, or even mining jobs for that matter, were good jobs, had nothing to do with what you did. Had to do with your pay.
Right.
Oh, your pay. And you got good pay because you had a union behind you, because you had bargaining leverage. And the unions are down to 6% of the private sector workforce. And he would like to get rid of the National Labor Relations Board. I mean, you see how utterly insane this is. He thinks that mining and manufacturing are the most important things that people want and need if they're workers. No, it's the money that is the most important thing that people need if they're workers.
But he is so tuned out. I mean, when is the last time he hopped in his car and went to the gas station and filled up his tank of gas?
I think
went
it was
to the grocery
at
store?
least 60 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of connection between, and also there seems to be a real disdain, right? It's, so the ports are empty.
Yeah, and dock workers.
And truck drivers.
And he doesn't understand the basics of economics either. I mean, he doesn't understand. He has no empathy for people, but put that together with not even understanding economics. A trade deficit. He says trade deficits are terrible. Why are they terrible?
Right.
Well, it's not. He doesn't have any idea why they're terrible. He thinks that somehow other nations.
It's a ripoff. It's a ripoff if you have to
advantage.
It's a ripoff if you have to import it.
I mean, look at China. China doesn't play quote unquote fair. We do have to push back. And the Biden administration did push back. And we probably do need an industrial policy because, there are very important industries we need to develop. But to assume that you have these blanket tariffs like we did in 1930, the Smoot-Hawley tariffs, that actually catapulted us deeper into the Depression of the 1930s, is just ludicrous.
You know whose job I wouldn't want? Jerome Powell's.
Right.
He's between a rock and a hard place. What's going to happen at the Fed?
Well, Jerome Powell, and he was clear this week that he doesn't know what to do. I mean,
fair enough.
Because if they raise interest rates, they could be pushing the economy into a recession. If they reduce interest rates, they could actually be inviting inflation. So he, because of the tariffs, because of what Trump is doing, is in an impossible spot, which from Trump's point of view is great because Trump can blame Jerome Powell for whatever happens to the economy. If prices do take off.
He loves a scapegoat.
I mean, he loves it. He loves it. Jerome Powell is going to play the scapegoat. Exactly. And then his term of office is over next year, and then Trump will blame him for it's probably inflation. It's probably prices going up because of the tariffs. And then Powell is out, and he'll put somebody else in.
Okay. We'll see.
I mean, it's important that everybody understand what's really going on here.
Corruption?
Well, in terms of corruption, right. In terms of, the violations fundamentally of the rule of law and the Constitution, in terms of trade and politics and the setting Jerome Powell up to be blamed.
Yep.
These are the subtexts of today,
right.
of the Trump era.
Right.
And we've got to make sure, and people need to understand it.
And we're waiting for Congress to stand up to Trump more.
Yeah.
But one person this week who stood up to her congressperson who was incredibly motivational to watch is someone named Emily Feiner, who is a constituent in Mike Lawler's district, Nyack, New York. I think it's 17. And she went in and she asked a question. She asked him a question.
In a town hall.
At a town hall, she decided I didn't feel like I heard the answer to my question, so she re-asked the question.
Great.
So good. So we are inviting her to come visit us at this Coffee Klatch. Should we watch a clip? Let's watch her clip, which many of you have probably seen, and see what she actually did in her home district.
This is really important because a lot of people ask, what can I do? What's my role in this horrible, godforsaken world we live in right now? What do I do? Emily Feiner is a good example.
At what point will you actually stand up for the Constitution?
In order to get advanced manufacturing out of China, we have to make it less incentivized.
Everyone in this row has been yelling and screaming.
Stop videoing or you're going to be asked to leave.
Overseas. What we saw during COVID,
Emily Feiner, it's so nice of you to spend time with Heather and me. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, you're in Nyack, New York. Something happened last Sunday. We actually saw a clip of what happened last Sunday. I just want to make sure that everybody knows you are not a registered Republican or registered Democrat. Is that right?
No, I am not.
And you are in Mike Lawler's district. You are a constituent. He's your Republican member of Congress. You went to actually run through for us what actually happened.
I showed up for my congressperson's town hall in Somers, New York last Sunday night. And when I got there was a massive police presence. There were 4 layers of security. We had to show our QR code in order to even drive in that we had been officially registered for the event. And then in order to get into the actual building, we had to be ID'd to make sure that we were, in fact, NY17 constituents. And then we had to get wanded, like we were going to a concert or something. And then after we signed in, we were brought to this, one of those freestanding signs that they have with, I think, like 16 rules we had to agree to abide by. Things like no calling out, no standing up, no booing, no making noise. I mean, it was ridiculous, quite frankly, given what's going on in our country right now. And you had to verbally say that, yes, I accept these rules. And then they didn't let us go find our own seat. They escorted us to seats. They wanted to know where we were. It was quite something. And so we sat down, and my husband actually was the first person who was called to ask a question. And once he was called, I thought, well, I'll never get called. And about 3 people down the line, I was called. I stood up, I asked my question. Congressman Lawler didn't answer it. In fact, he was totally non-responsive. He talked about appropriations. I had asked where his red line was to stand up to Trump. And I called out for him to ask it. to answer it repeatedly. He refused and went on to another question and proceeded to lie to the audience about the effect of tariffs on prices. And everybody at that point was yelling, including me. And this woman who had targeted me from the moment I walked into that room came over and said, okay, that's your last warning. You're out of here.
Wait a minute. Now, Emily,
the private security.
I just want to make sure we know this woman was part of the staff of the congressman, or?
Yes, her name is Erin Crowley. She is a Putnam County legislator. And she is also I think she runs his district office up there.
Okay.
And they had private security come over and try to convince me to leave. And I said no. And then they had the New York State troopers come and I refused to leave. And then they picked me up and carried me out of there.
And I heard, from the clip, we can hear people say, first of all, let her speak, and then shame, shame, shame. Heather probably has a lot of questions, but I wanted to go ahead.
Yeah, I just think thank you for coming and taking the time to talk to us. My main question is, how did it feel literally in your body? I mean, I know you kind of didn't want to go, so you just went limp and said, fine, if you're carrying me out, it seemed like you're carrying me out. I can't fight this. But so how did it feel during and afterwards? I mean, was it just, can you describe it?
So quick. I don't know how I felt. I just knew that it was wrong what they were doing and that I wasn't just going to get up and walk out of there. I mean, they were trying to shame me. They were shaming me for asking my congressional rep a question and for not accepting his obfuscation. And so I knew I wasn't going to leave on my own accord. And then I do think I was pretty shocked that they actually picked me up. And then at that point, I think when I went limp, my mind was blank. I really don't know this. When you're an adult, it's never a good thing if somebody's picking you up. Probably it means you've been in an accident or something. I don't know what I was thinking. Once I got out, quite frankly, I was a little annoyed. I got a little salty once I got out.
You must have been.
But
did you know that you were being taped? That there was actually a video going of this entire incident?
I knew that Jennifer was taping like halfway through it.
Jennifer is,
at some point she says something and I turn and I look and I see that she's videoing it.
Jennifer is your friend.
Jennifer is my friend and she happens to be the chair of the Westchester Working Families Party. And so we were sitting together.
Were you surprised when the tape went viral?
Stop. It is very strange, I just have to say. It's a very weird thing. When you posted the video, I think I got the biggest response. People just couldn't believe you and George Takei. That was a big one. But yes, I was totally shocked that it went viral. I've been shocked at the messages I've received and the inquiries I've received.
I think what I've been noticing going on is that there's a bystander effect that's happening, right? Which we know happens in certain instances in the world. But this is such a huge stage we're looking at. This is democracy. And I think so many people want to feel a sense of agency, but are worried about, I think they have fear about what can happen to them if they speak out. But then I think it's the classic bystander effect where you think, I'm sure someone else is going to stand up and do something. There's no way that all the Democrats in D.C. are not going to do something. And so I think examples like you, Emily, remind us that we can't be bystanders. And I think that's one thing that I found so powerful about that viral video. Have other people said that to you? Have they said thank you? Or have they said, what are the kind of comments you're getting?
Yeah. I've had these wonderful messages of I can't believe you did what you did, but you've made me realize I'm not doing enough, or you've made me more motivated to do more. I had one really wonderful message from somebody in Turkey thanking me and saying, we see you, we hear you, and we know that Americans aren't like Donald Trump, that we know there are good people in America, which was really gratifying.
That's fabulous. Your district in Nyack, around Nyack, it's a moderate but a Republican district. I mean, Mike Lawler would not have been elected if it weren't, sort of Republican.
Very purple.
Very purple, yeah.
Yes. I mean, the fact that you have got a lot of positive feedback, does that include people who are in your community? Does it include people who, might be independents and politically just interested in what you did and why you did it?
Most of it has been local. And it's come from all kinds of places, certainly Democrats, but also independents and a few Republicans. And everybody who I've spoken with has been very appreciative that I took the stand that I did. And they've thanked me sincerely for that.
Did you get a kind of apology from Congressman Lawler's office?
Oh, no. Congressman Lawler has done two things that I know. Well, three things. One is he put out a statement saying that I was a left-wing lunatic and that I was crazy and that I needed help, which is interesting to me as a social worker because, I think that people who have mental health diagnoses get to ask their congresspeople questions, even if they have a mental health diagnosis. But the other thing he did was he went on Sean Hannity's show on Fox and repeated those and then talked about some of my social media posts. And then he encouraged people to text the word crazy to a certain number in order to contribute to his campaign war chest.
Well, Emily, I think that you have contributed not only to the courage of huge numbers of people, but I would say you have contributed to anybody who is going to be opposing Mike Lawler in the next election, in the midterms. But Heather and I want to thank you so much for your time, but also for your courage, for standing up for democracy, for being really an example of democracy in action. A social worker, yes, I want to thank you for that as well, but you are an exemplar for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really been wonderful to speak with both of you.
Wasn't she terrific?
Ooh, it was so... Imagine that of course she kind of went blank. I mean, she said it happened so quickly and I wasn't fully aware of what was happening.
But interestingly, I remember people, it was a tactic, a civil rights tactic in the civil rights movement. You go limp when the police try to drag you off.
Yeah, it was part of the training. That's what you do.
It was part of the training. And she did it automatically.
Yeah.
And this is sort of like a civil rights movement, right? This is a pro-democracy movement.
It's pro-democracy and it's doing the peaceful protesting. And the fact that she was asking a secondary question because her first one wasn't answered, and that is not allowed.
Yes, and she was saying, please, answer the question. Answer the question. Everybody else really was there. The crowd was not, as far as I could tell from the clip, a Republican necessarily or a Democratic crowd. I mean, they were there because they were very curious.
Right.
I thought it was also interesting, Heather, all of the difficulties she and other people had to get in. They had to agree to all of these conditions.
Yep. And QR codes and scanning and This is what's happening at the town halls. I mean, we've been hearing about it. You've been saying about it, but to talk to someone who was there, who also watches our videos.
Yes,
I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
And I'm hearing more and more town halls around the country where people are being dragged off. Emily Feiner is not the only one.
Right.
But
they're tightening.
Yes. Well, in
fact,
being
canceled.
Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, said to his Republicans, don't even have town halls. Yep. Don't have town halls because, why? Because people are so upset.
Too risky. Someone might ask a question.
It's democracy.
Someone might hold us accountable.
We don't want to be in a risky democracy. Yeah. And Heather, thank you again. That brings us to the end of another Saturday Coffee Klatch.
I think it's like our 172nd or something.
I think it's maybe
3 years.
This year, but even the last 3 months feels like 300 years we've done this. But thank you. You are fabulous. Michael Lahanas Calderon behind the camera. You are great. Emily Feiner out there in Nyack, New York. Thank you for joining us today. And all of you, I hope that Emily Feiner fortifies you, if you need fortification, in terms of you being an activist and a citizen and really demanding that this Trump administration and every one of your representatives and senators in Congress respond to you. They work for you. They work for Emily Feiner. They work for all of us. We don't work for them. Remember that. And we'll see you next week.